It's a momentous, life-changing moment that we find ourselves in. And we really need to take time and to reflect and not just impulsively react at the news of Queen Elizabeth's passing, 96 years old and 70 years as our reigning monarch. I sat this morning with members of our community who are in their 90s, people who can remember life before the coronation, back in the time when we had a king previously. But for someone like myself, and for many of us here on the Zoom today, and people around the nation and around the world, we will have been experiencing this for the first time. We don't know what it means to have anybody else in that seat of power other than Queen Elizabeth. It really is remarkable and staggering that she has been blessed to be our monarch, to be our ruler for all of these years, and to have achieved so much and to leave behind such a strong legacy and so much outpouring of love, outpouring of sorrow, outpouring of support, and outpouring of gratitude for everything that she did for us in her privileged position. She has reigned throughout every single significant moment within the span of modern history, basically since the end of World War II. And it's incredible to think for a moment that there is never a point in time where we are not ruled by a monarch. From the moment that she left this world, King Charles immediately ascended into his new position. And perhaps this is an opportunity to take stock, to realize that monarchy as we know it is in some ways a metaphor for how we as Jews are to reflect and internalize the majesty of the Almighty, the way in which he watches over us and gives us the blessings of life and the blessings of this world without pause, without even a moment's stop. You know, rabbis that I've learned under over the years from overseas, they had always used Queen Elizabeth II as the paradigm for understanding what it means to have Hashem as our king. We know that when we come to the High Holy Days in a few weeks' time, we'll be saying those words, Avinu Malkeinu, trying to understand and appreciate what it means to have Hashem as our Father and Hashem as our King. And we have been so privileged as her loyal subjects to be able to see the living, breathing human example, that kind of devotion in human form. And the example that she set, and please God, the example that will still be set by King Charles, is an opportunity for us to learn how we can live as dignified and ethical people. Quotes from her speeches throughout the decades, which emphasize her commitment to serve her subjects totally, entirely, and wholeheartedly, understanding that there are people who came before her from whom she could learn, and preaching the need for us to find the areas in common with our society to be able to build a respectful and tolerant place to live. Recognizing that through her universal words, she articulated a path that we should in turn all be adhering to. I'd like to share some of those words with you now for us to perhaps have a snapshot of what she embodied, what she would teach, and what we needed to learn from. You will have heard some of these quotes over the last day or so, but we know that in 1947, she broadcasted on her 21st birthday, telling everybody listening, I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong. Her broadcast at Christmas time 1957, which for many of you will remember as the first time her speech was televised. I cannot lead you into battle. I do not give you laws or administer justice, but I can do something else. I can give you my heart and my devotion to these old islands and to all the peoples of our Brotherhood of Nations. Coronation Day, 1953, when she said, although my experience is so short, and my task so new. I have in my parents and grandparents an example which I can follow with certainty and with confidence. And in 1992, the year which she coined as Annus Horribilis, the 40th anniversary of her succession, when she saw a fire in Windsor Castle and the collapse of 3 of her children's marriages, she came and said, but we are all part of the same fabric of our national society, and that scrutiny by one part of another can be just as effective if it is made with a touch of gentleness, good humor, and understanding. And in 2002, a year in which she lived through the passing of the Queen Mother and her sister, Princess Margaret, our modern world places such heavy demands on our time and attention that the need to remember our responsibilities to others is greater than ever. It is often difficult to keep this sense of perspective through the ups and downs of everyday life, as this year has constantly reminded me. I know just how much I rely on my own faith to guide me through the good times and the bad. Each day is a new beginning. I know that the only way to live my life is to try to do what is right, to take the long view, to give of my best in all that the day brings, and to put my trust in God. So many times she will have spoken throughout her years of service, so many prized pearls that we can take away. But the point, I think, is that she embodied this throughout her entire reign. She will be remembered for these values. She will be remembered for the way in which she conducted herself as our queen. And what I really wanted to share with you as well is the words of Maimonides, the words of the Rambam, because it's one thing to see it from the royal family's perspective, but it's quite another to see the timeless words of the Rambam. It's good for us to share some words of Torah as well, I think. But the Maimonides writes in the laws of monarchy, in his Mishnah Torah, he says that in the same way that scriptures has given a monarch, he talks about a king, has given him great honor, and everyone is obliged to give him honor, so has he been commanded to be of a subdued and unpretentious heart. These are the staple character traits, the values which a monarch is to embody. He must not act overly haughtily towards his subjects. He must be merciful and compassionate to the small, and great with regards to their wants and welfare. He must show respect for even the lowest of the low. When he speaks to the entire congregation together, he is to speak sensitively. He must suffer their burdens and criticisms and anger, and he must always behave with extreme modesty. These are words written hundreds of years ago by the Rambam, telling us as Jewish kings what we are to look for. But I think it pays to reflect on her 7 decades as our monarch and to pay tribute to the fact that she also embodied these values and others besides. But she is there, monarchy is there to set the example for us. We too have to embody these values. We too have to live by these ethics and this way of life. And so perhaps to end off, please God, her memory shall be for a blessing. May her influence and outstanding leadership continue to inspire us to be the best versions of ourselves. And may His Majesty King Charles be blessed with many happy, healthy, and prosperous years ahead. Long live the King. Shabbat Shalom.